Hello, this is Esotic, and this is the tutorial on how to use auto learning mode that is included in the version 1.6 of the Esotic Shift Light app for Assetto Corsa that you can download from Race Department. I'm actually listening to an echo of myself talk because that's how my mic works for me to get me talking into these videos. So if I sound strange at any moment, it's probably because I'm having some cognitive dissonance due to the echo effect. But so anyway, I'm gonna start with just showing how this basically functions. I like to hit the home button so I get this overlay that I can sort of see what's happening as I'm driving. So for the first lap, you need to basically just try to hit all your shift points. And Assetto Corsa starts us from sort of behind the start line when we're in practice mode at the drag strip, and you have to do this at the drag strip. And for the purposes of trying to get good data, we need to just sort of slowly inch our way up to the start line. I normally try to keep it under 10 kilometers an hour. So I'm gonna sneak on up to the start line here, and then when this thing turns from purple to gray, then I can floor it. You'll notice up in the window up there, it's basically tracking the kph range for each gear. And we're going to use those middle values when we're actually kind of wiggling our shift points around, trying to figure out some more optimum RPMs for shifting. And when you get to the end of your run, you have to actually pass the finish line and then brake on every successive lap. I guess we'll call it a lapse. And then now I'm gonna restart the session. It's gonna take me back to the start finish. If you hit the home button, you can sort of get an idea of where you need to click to get that wheel, so you don't have to hide the home every time. You can actually click through it to the button underneath. So for the second run, you want to basically run first gear up to its maximum RPM, so we get kind of a high water mark for what the high RPM range is for the vehicle. So I'm going to sneak up to the start line, and you'll see the shadow cross over the car, and that's right about now. Okay. I actually missed that. So I still need to run my first gear to the maximum RPM. And you can see it's thinking about some stuff over here, spitting out some data. And there's no seventh. If there was a seventh gear, it would automatically set the max gear to 7. If the car doesn't actually go all the way up to 6, 6 is the default max gear because that's what most cars are going to do. You'd have to go to the INI file and set the max gear to be whatever that lower max gear is, say 4 or 5. I don't know of any cars that have a 3, but I have seen some 4s and 5s, older vehicles mostly. Okay, so this time I'm going to actually run first gear all the way up to its maximum RPM. So basically wait for the KMH to top out, and then we can start shifting again. So you can see it's kind of randomizing shift points around sort of the default that we've got. And then if that new random shift point helps us get from the middle of the gear we shifted out of up to the middle kph of the gear we shifted into, then we assume that was a better shift point. And then that becomes the new shift point that gets written to the INI file, and they'll load that back up later. Restart session. Okay, now this is my third, fourth, whatever. I can just start running these, but I still have to inch my way up to the start finish because we need the position on track to properly calculate if the shift helped. The new random shift point. And you can see there it said it was saving the new shift point, so it decided that that was better than some previous shift point that we had. Oh no, I'm still running. You got to run these all the way out, so you're basically waiting for the lap time to show up. We have to run these out and then brake in order to increment our lap total. Because we're restarting the session, so we can't use the lap count out of the API. We have to track it ourselves. There, it saved the shift point. Run this out to the end. So generally, I think that the more laps you run, the better. Obviously, everyone's time is limited. You could come and rerun this process every time you make a new setup for a track. Where you've changed your gearing. Because when your gearing changes, your optimum shift points will also change. So it would have to be recalculated when you set new gearing. Although I don't know by how much it would change per gear. Just trying to keep it about 10. The quicker you can hit your marks, the better. I'm going to run this like a real drag. So you can't necessarily trust the time down there because we're not really running a proper drag. We're just using the drag strip because it's a nice straight flat track to just all we're doing is just, running through our shift points. And I would say you want to load up the 2000 meter drag strip in practice mode. That's how you want to run this, and the app will automatically detect if you're at the drag strip and enable this learning mode, auto calculating mode. You can disable learning mode in the INI. Just set learning mode to 0, and it won't do all this auto calculating. It'll just skip it. Okay, good. 7 laps so far. The first 1 and 2 are kind of just calibrating the system. So your 3rd lap onward, you're actually, the app is attempting to find better shift points. And I turn off the minimum green and warning yellow shift lights when I'm doing this, because sometimes the light will change and I'll just knee-jerk, shift up, and then I've sort of messed up my process. You got to make sure you brake. You got to run it through the finish and then brake, and that increments the lap total. And then, yeah, basically you just run this as many times as you want, feel like is useful. And then after you've done this a certain number of times, you can go check the INI and see what the new values are. If you generated values that worked with a certain tune, you might want to copy that section of the INI and then paste it back in and give it a name that is indicative of the tune that you used with the vehicle, and then you could have those values kind of stored inside the INI, but then not automatically being referenced. So then you would have to kind of go in and then make that copy the one that you're using for real in the INI, because the API doesn't tell me the name of the setup you're using, so there's no real way to know at the API level what tune you have loaded. So some of this is still a little bit manual that way. So anyway, try out this auto learning mode. It will set per gear optimum shift points in the INI. If you feel like something's not working right about it, let me know. If you feel like it could be improved, let me know. So yeah, that's it. Hope you like it. And if you have any questions about how to make this work better, if this video is not explanatory enough, then let me know that as well. And you can post that on YouTube or in the race department thread, support thread for the app. Thanks.